It's going. Would you like to introduce the show when you're done dusting off the Scooby?
Scooby's nose is all dusty. Well, you've put him there, so I've had to deal with it.
Welcome to I Know What You Watched Last Week, episode 35.
Mm-hmm. And
Crazy.
The Oscars have just taken place. It was a real who's who of who gives a crap. What do you think?
I would be far more flattered to receive a Razzie nowadays than an Oscar.
Well, at least a Razzie movie might be interesting. Also, last week, I gave a little glimpse into the personal life. You said It was my personal life, but I said our personal life. And in the last couple of days, we have gone to the council to get permission to get hitched. So, please feel free to pour one out for your soon-to-be-dead homie.
You asked me. Let's not forget.
Well, I should hope so.
So, on to this week's array of movies to be reviewed. They're all... Actually, two of them I would say are quite similar, in a way, with the premise and basic storyline. One is quite a bit different, being that it's an anthology.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with a horror anthology.
So, without further ado, I doubt you'll have watched any of these, so let's get into the titles.
Yeah, first of all, we watched The Task, which is a movie produced by After Dark, and we watched one of their movies more recently. It was called The Joker. It's that one where Bosch breaks the third wall, and some other guy breaks the third wall from Breaking Bad, and all the grizzled cops were around the poker table telling stories of their time on the beat. Remember?
Yes, I do.
And they tried to get really artsy with it.
So that was one of them.
So this was produced by those same people. So we got The Task, and it's a bunch of people stuck in a room, essentially.
Just say the three titles, Johnny. We went over this last week. Just stick with it.
Well, I like to give a bit of variety. Your whole thing was that we just
No,
do
you
this
just
on
like
the
to go on
fly.
tangents.
On the fly. Secondly, we watch The Employer. The Employer. That is another great... The Task. The Employer.
And also the two movies that are similar-ish.
Yeah, very similar. Starring Malcolm McDowell.
And the third film...
Very Frightening Tales.
That's the anthology.
The horror
one, of course,
anthology,
yeah.
obviously. Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, very short. Clocks in at less than an hour.
Yes. I have something to say about that, though. But I think we should probably rank them. And then you can go off on as many tangents as you want.
There's only one way you can rank these movies, surely. Let's go.
Well,
what have you got?
I'm actually quite stunned that you found it so easy, because I kept going back and forth.
I found it pretty easy, yeah. This is an easy pick.
There were different things that...
So you had, at one point...
I could appreciate from
different movies were on the bottom.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
No.
So, in third place from me is The Employer.
Right.
Then...
Wow.
Second place...
Talk about a knife in the back.
Is... I'm just going to go with
We don't just go with... What, so you haven't thought about it, you just...
I have, but like I said, I keep changing my mind, because there are different things I could say for each. Which means that, for me, Very Frightening Tales gets the gold this week.
I'm putting The Task bottom, The Employer second, and Very Frightening Tales clearly tops.
You say clearly, but
I thought it was definitely clear.
So, the question is then, Johnny, why don't you pick which one we start with for this discussion?
Let's start with The Task. That's my bottom pick.
By the way, the name is clearly not doing it any favours, because I couldn't remember it for the life of me. I think it took you reminding me about 8 times before it finally sunk in. Yeah. It's a very forgettable name.
Well, you didn't remember The Employer either, did you?
No.
You barely remember Very Frightening Tales. That's a pretty good... that's a pretty good
It's
title.
been a while since we actually watched these. I Know What You Watched.
No, we watched it last week. Like the show says.
Last week?
Like the show says, we watched it last week.
Yeah. Okay.
This isn't I Know What You Watched.
Last week.
11 days ago. So The Task. What do you remember of this?
Well,
a bunch of people kidnapped off the street.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought I was going to introduce it. But yeah, so these people are kidnapped, bundled into some van, and they show up somewhere. And it turns out that they all signed up for a reality show contest a while ago.
Fame whores.
So once they're informed, they're all really excited. And for this reality show, they have to go into an abandoned... It was prison, right?
Prison.
Yeah. An abandoned, haunted prison. And basically await instructions to complete various tasks and get through... Was it a time or a task thing they had to get through?
A task. That's the name of the movie. Yeah. The Task.
So yeah, that's...
Not the time thing.
That's basically it. And we have our characters who are the contestants, of which there are, 6 or something? We've got 2 British siblings, the boy and the girl.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the blonde, Bruno-type gay guy.
Let's just say what it is. Like I said, it's the 2 siblings, the gay... the airhead, the brainiac, and the black guy. No thought has gone into these characters.
Was this the one where the black character kept going, shit?
Yeah. The black guy, he's taken straight out of not another teen movie where he can only say certain things like shit and damn.
Oh my god.
And stuff of that nature. And he also listens to hip hop and says dog a lot.
See, that's why this was not my bottom. I thought it was quite entertaining at points at how ridiculous it was.
I know what you mean. That normally, I would put this kind of thing sometimes top because of the sheer ridiculous nature of it. But this one was just so... It's hard. It was hard to believe that this script has been handed in and you've got the characters laid out. And then you start reading what they're saying and...
But we
what
also
the director
have,
how he lets them portray these characters.
We have other characters as well. It's not one
of
your
It's like Hollywood
classic...
homosexual 101. They've got the character Randall to do because he's doing everything, isn't he? Every kind of cliche
exactly
thing
cliche.
that you
Each of them, yeah.
He's doing it.
But we don't just get the contestants, as I was saying.
Of course, the brainiac just somehow knows everything. He knows the way around the prison, remembers all the directions because she's the brainiac. The blonde airhead wouldn't remember that kind of stuff because that's the blonde airhead. That's the word they've gone here.
Can I continue now?
Yeah. We haven't mentioned Piss Pants Guy, though.
Well, can I just finish what I was going to say and then maybe we'll
Piss
get
Pants
there
Guy.
Naturally.
Is that the beginning?
Because basically, as I keep trying to say now, it's not just the contestants that we get. We also get the crew that are producing this whole... shenanigan for their network.
Yeah, you've got a lady producer and a man producer who has crabs.
Yeah, and we also get a few techie type people who are viewing the monitors
like the
and
stoner
sorting
guy.
everything up.
It's gonna go and sort out the tech.
And it turns out that Piss Pants Guy, as Johnny referred to him as, is a crew member who, at the beginning, when they're all told, "Do you really want to go through with this?" he pisses his pants in fear.
It was the second most obvious thing because already when they've been kidnapped off the street and they're all whimpering in fear when they've been taken in the van, then they're unloaded at the secret location and they're all scared. It was obvious that these people have been selected for...
They've been taken in the van.
No, they've been selected for a reality TV show. That was just obvious. And then when it was revealed that it was like, oh god, I can't believe how obvious this thing is going to be. And then obviously when that guy then pisses his pants, straight away I said that guy's not a part of it. And then lo and behold, he goes into the production van and takes out the pipe from his trousers.
Yeah, so
from his fake whizzing.
If you're looking for something
you can't
surprising,
spoil this movie.
You won't find it with this. But as you can see, I did find some parts of it quite entertaining, and I also thought, it's hard to go wrong with an old haunted abandoned prison as a setting.
It's not like I wasn't laughing.
But yeah, it was. I was
laughing.
I liked the way it looked for most of that. And this one also had a part in it which I wasn't expecting.
Oh, yeah.
And it was disgusting.
What part is that?
You don't remember the hole of shit that the guy has to submerge
that the black character
himself
has to get into.
Yeah, and he spends the rest of the film just lying in a shallow bath of excrement.
Yeah, that's his task.
That is disgusting.
We should also mention that in this prison, the warden has supposedly killed 85,000 people, and it's rumoured that he still wonders this abandoned prison, and he does somewhat.
Yeah. So getting into more of the details, and the weirdest, like, double, triple twist, which was obvious ending. I mean, there were a lot of supposed twists, which you just saw coming. But as the characters start doing their tasks, it starts kind of tame. Like, a guy has to go on his own and read a passage from the Bible backwards.
Yeah, the gay guy has to go and read the Lord's Prayer, and he's doing it in the dark at some, like, little altar or something like this. And all of a sudden, in the background, some bald, pale guy appears in the darkness and then disappears again.
The warden.
And it's the warden. Yeah, we had the warden before in Numbers with Costas Mandylor. He was the warden. Everyone's the warden in these trapped.
And then so that was the first one.
Movies.
Was the black guy's shithole one the second one?
Yeah,
I think it was.
I barely even remember.
Because, like I said, he was in there for ages, and I was like, the stank must be enough to kill you.
Well, I just thought it was dirt. It was like mud.
No.
So you're telling me that was crap?
Yeah. Yeah. And he actually immersed himself like all the way.
Well, that again says about the writing. How about we just have a guy laying a bath of shit?
So gross. I mean, it got to me, so clearly it worked.
That was probably when the black guy said, "Oh hell no," because I've got him saying that when he gets to the pit.
That's all you're allowed to say if you're a black guy in a movie.
Yeah. Oh hell no. She.
And then so he's in there, and the reason he's like that far immersed is because they've closed the grate back over him, and then we see more of this figure, the warden, standing on top of the grate, just looking down at him. It looked like he was going to whip his penis out and take a piss.
Well, maybe to you.
The way he was standing, I think.
You get your mind out of the gutter. This is the task.
Yeah, that would have been gruesome if he had done that.
Yeah.
And this, I think that's the first time when the camera crew and the producer lady first see the warden on their cameras.
Yeah, because this ambitious producer lady, when she's watching on the multiple TV screens, she's, who the hell is that? Who's put them there? And all the techies kind of convince her that maybe, we're part of this, and it's, the guys at the top of the company have placed him in there unbeknownst to us. So they just kind of accept that.
Yeah.
The story of the warden beating, starving, raping and feeding babies to victims in the prison is a much better movie, which is what one of the producers actually says when Krabs Man tells her that story.
Yeah, but they won't allow, the town wouldn't allow them to.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter in a movie, well, does it? Just bypass that and do it.
It's a reality show, not a movie. Yeah, and then, so we've got most people dead by the point at which the producer lady ends up going into the prison set, and she starts discovering that people aren't just faking it, they're actually dead. The Brainiac was gassed.
This might be before or after the black guy has now said shit, then damn, followed by shit again. It all happens in a very quick space of time. That's really realistic because, my black mates always speak like that. They say those things. So it was like I was watching my mate on television. I was like, this is so realistic.
The gay guy was also walking around doing that with his hands.
He was literally mincing through the hallway. Mm-hmm. And he was also quite quippy, a little bit bitchy. All those things that
bleach blonde hair.
All gay people are. Yeah, he had that. He had the fashion going on, didn't he? Because he had a jumper over his shirt and stuff like this, and a tie that just goes around his neck.
When they all had to walk in at the beginning, holding hands or something, that was just summing up each of their...
I don't remember them holding hands.
I swear they were holding hands.
I'm not saying it didn't happen. I don't remember it.
They were handcuffed together or something.
Yeah, for some reason when you said that, I've got a chain gang in my head.
Yeah,
but with that.
I think they were handcuffed together actually.
Yeah. So they weren't holding hands.
Might as well have been. I feel like just going straight to the end now. So at this point, I'm starting to forget because we're made to think it's loads of different things at different points. So
all these characters are doing this task as well to walk away with $20,000.
I think we've been convinced that the crew is wrong. They're not in it, and these characters are actually being killed by a supernatural warden character.
Yeah.
Then the ladies come in, found out that, people are dead and whatnot. Then they all ambush her, all these supposedly dead people, and they're all alive again. So it turns out she was the subject of the reality show.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find out that that's not the last twist, because apparently the warden ghost does in fact exist, and a couple of the people were actually killed, and they are actually in danger.
I thought you were going to say that the last twist was when the gay character Randall then says to the producer girl, "Hey, guess what? I'm a straight actor. Did I fool you that I wasn't gay?" No, you didn't fool anybody, because that was a Hollywood homosexual performance 101. And it might have worked possibly then if like the black character then like pulled his face off and he was wearing a mask the whole time. It was just some like white guy that was like, "Hey, did you believe my portrayal of an inner city guy?" No, we didn't.
Well, I didn't mention that bit because that comes
they
at
should
the
have put
twist
that in
of
there.
Oh, hey, we were all fooling you, because we thought the gay guy had been killed, but no, he was just acting.
So from the writing to the
and there
directing,
were 3 actors playing.
How do they let him get away with this? You watch that through a camera thinking, "Yeah, this is good. This is an honest portrayal."
Who knows? I mean, do you have any idea what year this is from?
It's not old. I think it's like let's just say it's from 2020. Let's just guess that. It's not an old movie. And continuing with the theme of a bunch of people trapped in a room/building, that moves us on to my number 2 pick and your bottom pick, unbelievably, The Employer, starring Malcolm McDowell.
I mean, if the whole like cliche thing was what bothered you in the first one, then I don't really understand how you can think this was any better, because this had such cliche characters in it as well. Completely cliche.
I am not going against that. There's no denying it. But I can't believe that you've stabbed him in the back, Karen.
What, Malcolm McDowell?
No, not Malcolm McDowell.
Who have I stabbed in the back?
All the credits roll at the beginning, people's names come up, and then we get the end, and Billy Zane.
Oh.
You know, that's his agent at work again, because we recently watched him in Blood Rain, and he came at the end. He got a special appearance by Billy Zane in Blood Rain. In this one, he's got to the end of the credits, and it's like, and Billy Zane. So you always know that something special is going to go on when he appears, because that's why he gets those credits.
That's why he only takes the small roles.
And even though he was only in this for, I don't know, 3 minutes maximum, that was enough to elevate it above the task.
Can I also say,
without question,
if you're someone who's seen the TV show Entourage, then you will already know exactly the performance we get from Mr. McDowell, because it is literally his character from that in this one. Well, you could see this happening behind the scenes.
He's a genius. He's an absolute genius, because he stars in this movie. He executive produces this movie, so he gets to say what his character does, and all he does is sit in a chair and recites the same dialogue over and over again, because all he's doing is asking different contestants who are trying to get a job with his firm different questions like, "What aggravates you? What wouldn't you do for this company?"
And most of them.
And he asks everybody that. Really, so you hear that about 7 times.
Most of them give really weird, repetitive
while he's sitting
answers.
down.
Yeah, most of them give answers that are just like, who would actually say that in a job interview if you were asked that question? Like, surely you'd come up with some like fakey answer, like, "What aggravates you?" "Oh, not getting the job done to the best of my ability."
Yeah.
Not like, people who
these are kind
do
of
this or that.
The actual interviews are flashbacks, because currently in the movie, as the movie's going along live, we've got our characters in the room all trapped together. And so what are the cliche characters in this one? You've got the kind of the ambitious lady in the black dress. Then you've got the hot-headed muscle dude. Then you've got the annoying little business twerp. Oh yeah, then you got the guy who looks like the adult McLovin from Superbad. The guy with the glasses.
Well, the main
guy. Yeah, adult McLovin.
No, he was like the
ginger girl, maybe? Was there a ginger girl too?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. We've got it. Was there anybody else?
I don't know about your summary there, because I wouldn't have said he was the adult McLovin. I would have said his cliche was that he was supposed to be the one that you always agree is like the best.
What, that he's
person.
Smart?
He's just a good person.
The likeable, the everyman.
Or just a good person.
The adult
what
McLovin.
I'm going to go with.
I'm going with the adult McLovin.
But yeah, these questions. So they figure out that they've all been interviewed for this position. That's the only thing that ties them together, and that's why they're all in this Saw type environment now.
They've all got to die. It's last man standing.
Which they've been told, and they've also been told that for each person that dies, they'll get a code to unlock the door until there's just the one left standing.
They've been given the phone, which is their only connection to the outside world, and their only hope of escape is through this phone, because Malcolm McDowell's going to call them every time they get something right, and like you said, give them the code to this like airlocked steel door with 2 things on it.
Yeah, which they hilariously try and open when you can tell it's...
Which is exactly why I said what it was made from. You got the little girl, Billy, jumping up and down against it. She must weigh about like 110 pounds. And she thinks she can get it open.
Yeah, but she's a badass, like, martial arts girl.
She is a badass martial arts girl. She must be, because, as I said, we've got the muscle man, who must weigh, like, 250 pounds. And I said she's about 110 pounds or something like that. And there's a part where, he dies. Keith, the annoying little twerp businessman, kills him, strangles him to death. And then Billy gets up and just starts dragging him around the room to wherever she wants him to be, with, like, she's not up in breath.
Well, she's also taken him out previously.
She has also taken him out as well previously, when he tries to kill Keith.
So I feel like at this point it's worth explaining that...
This guy's so big, he used to be in the NFL, apparently. So he's not just an actor. That's what I'm just trying to get across, how big this guy is.
You can get that across again when we get back to it, if you let me get something in edgeways.
She's dragging him around, and then she stands on his head.
But we have to even get there, Johnny, so just calm down for a minute. You can talk about how massive this man is in a minute. Because... at first, obviously, this group of 5 people decide together that, there's no way they're going to kill anyone. They're just going to wait it out, and surely, something must happen. So they make this pact. Some more reluctantly than others.
McLovin
but still,
is one that comes up with it, really.
Yeah, the good guy.
Yeah, McLovin.
And then, as John said, we get those flashbacks to the questions they were asked, and amongst them, what aggravates you. And it turns out that pretty much all of them said something as their answer that is a trait someone else has. And that's
surprise.
That's why this was so stupid, though, because so now your big muscle man, right?
Yeah.
His aggravation apparently was when people saw him as just a big muscle man.
Yeah. He's got a short fuse.
But he basically goes on to prove that that is what he is.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing to the contrary. And the little smarmy guy...
Keith.
He's completely, like, winding him up.
He plays him, doesn't he?
All the time, yeah. And so Muscle Man tries to kill Keith first.
He attempts to kill Keith.
And that's when Billy, the little lady... girl, takes him out, because they're like, we've got to stop this, otherwise we'll all get killed.
And then Muscle Man sees the error of his ways, and he's in the corner, he's like, crying, oh my god,
I'm so sorry. He was this close to killing the guy, and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, Keith's not having none of that, though.
That's not really an excuse. Sorry.
As I mentioned, so he's obviously shown his aggression problems, and there's a bit where he gets on the phone, and as we mentioned, they're all in the same room. It's not a very big room. They're all enclosed together. But Muscle Man gets on the phone, and the rest of them huddle up and start whispering about maybe we should kill this guy. Like he's not just standing like 5 feet away, or also like they've got like an invisibility cloak on or something, and he can't see them all huddled together saying, "Hey, should we kill him?"
He's distracted.
He's just over there. And then that's not the only time that happens. They do it again to another character. They huddle over again. Should we kill this guy? Should we not? Yeah.
Yes. We should also say there's like a select number of outgoing calls on this phone. I think they have 5.
You get more than Lord's Prayer in this movie as well. Keith says the Lord's Prayer on the phone.
Yeah, but this is when we find out that, in fact, Keith...
This is a Lord's Prayer double.
On
the employer phone. And the task.
He was not on the phone to his priest.
And you get it forwards and backwards. That's a double feature. No, he wasn't on the phone to his priest because he's a very conniving, deceiving guy.
Yes. And Billy apparently also has a sixth sense for when people are lying. Mm-hmm. So she gets her very high stiletto heels and jabs them through his eye.
They've all had to get rid of their possessions which might be deemed dangerous, like a belt.
Really like an air vent.
You can strangle someone with a belt, you can hit someone in the face with your high heels, whatever. So they've all given up these kind of items, and they've put them, like you said, in the air vent. And at one point, Billy says, "Oh, my feet are getting cold. Can I have my shoes back?" But in my head, I was like, "But her shoes are strappy sandals." I believe I heard that term from Sex and the City, and I was like, "They're not going to warm anyone's feet. They're just like bits of string that you wrap around your ankle, kind of
That's
thing."
what I was thinking.
So
they
they give it her back, and then Keith swiftly gets the heel through the eye, which is probably the best bit of the movie, and someone then rings a one night stand. Who rings their one night stand? Because they thought that would be a good idea to get him out of.
It's Billy, I think.
Right, and then is she the one that breaks the phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she breaks the phone, as I've already mentioned, that this is their only ways. They've got to have the phone so that Malcolm McDowell can call them and give them the code to this door.
There was a different call, though, that was, for me, the weirdest one, which is the ginger woman you were talking about.
Yeah.
She calls her sister twice, and both times it goes to voicemail, so her sister never picks up, but
I thought you only got one call each. Does it not count because
yeah,
it didn't
but don't you
up?
remember the good guy and stuff, didn't want his call, and at first Billy wasn't going to call someone, so Ginger Girl got 2 calls.
Right.
Yeah.
I do remember it, yeah.
And both times I was like, what the hell? Because as far as she knows, so people have already died in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
As far as she knows, this might be her last living moment. And even though we later find out she and her sister don't necessarily get on, I still was like, what is this cold ass phone call? I wish you'd pick up.
Was that when he said, no, I love you, no, nothing like that?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. No emotion.
Maybe they had a strange relationship. We don't know the backstory.
Well, if you're calling her for help, I think you'd at least want to say, oh, goodbye, sorry about stuff or whatever. But nothing. And also, the good guy that we keep talking about...
McLovin.
He lost me at one point as well. I was like, well, they've already failed in their thing of him being, such a stand-up guy. Because when, as you said, Billy was like, oh, I'm cold, I want my shoes.
I'm cold.
He was there in a full suit. He could have offered her his jacket.
So he's not a gentleman.
He's
and
not.
And that's where he lost you. Chivalry is dead.
I mean, she wasn't really wearing much, so I'm not surprised she was cold.
I mean, to me, it looked like a hot room. I mean, there's an air vent as well. It is red. Red signifies warmth.
Well, either way, doesn't really matter.
So they still got the phone now.
Well, you jumped ahead and said that Billy smashed it, which she did. When she found out that the guy she'd slept with once was actually in on it all.
Oh, he's part of the game, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, let's see, who's dead by this? So, the big guy was the first guy to die, then it was the little smarmy one.
Keith.
And then, I think, Billy must be the next one to go.
Doesn't someone get a sliced throat or something like this?
Yeah, but that's the end.
That's it.
Well, actually, there is another left after that. But no, I don't remember how Billy gets killed, but Billy does get killed. Because then there's only Ginger Woman and Good Guy left. And then we get told through some flashbacks that Malcolm McDowell, in fact, wanted the redhead to win. So he's given her these notes on her opponents so that she knows exactly how to play them.
She's been given inside info during her interview.
And he even told her that the grate of the air vent has been sharpened, so she knows this. Just as we find out this twist, she grabs for it and tries to get McLovin man, and he sort of manages to get it off her, and in a panic he slashes towards her and it ends up getting her across the neck, and so of course she's dead, which means that he's the final survivor. But then we get a further twist, don't we? Because he walks out and he's greeted by, some other employees, and he gets led to Mr.
I mean, you said I was rushing ahead, but I hadn't even finished my thought about the broken phone.
Oh.
Because they have the broken phone, as I say, so that Malcolm McDowell can contact them to give them the code to the door.
Right.
But then when they break the phone, we're like, oh no, what have you done? How are we going to get the codes? How are we going to get out of here? But fear not, because now the air vent just spits out bits of paper with the codes written on. And it's literally just a piece of folded paper which someone from the crew's written some random numbers on it. So that's that problem solved. You didn't really need the phone. That wasn't really your only source of outside contact, because we had bits of paper stuck in the air vent which we were going to blow out. And I mean, how are they blowing it out on time? They've just done a task. Now the air vent's going to conveniently blow out one piece of paper with a code on it.
This company is just, they can do everything.
And we literally hear them say that, don't they? I think it's Billy that says that, this company is known for being, sly and underhand, and no one knows what they're really doing. They got everything figured out. And then Keith is like, hey, I used to work in, security systems, and I can tell by their camera that they're watching us right now, because he's worked in security. So when he sees a camera, you might be being watched.
Weird that.
Mm-hmm. And everyone, we find out who everyone's name is, but just by them saying, "Hey, what's your name?" And then someone else who's been, dead on the floor, passed out, will wake up, and they'll just go to him, "Hey, what's your name?" Everyone would just ask their name. Like, there's no natural way that everyone was introduced. It's just, "What is your name?" And I think that was the opening, which looked like a year 1 acting course.
When they're all like just, playing Sleeping Lions.
They're all just lying on the floor in the dark and not moving. And we actually once walked in on the legit class going on in that school with your previous
in my drama school.
I believe your previous tutor.
An acting class, yeah.
And we just walked in, just darkened the room, and all the students just laying on the floor breathing, and it sounded like it was going to go on for like at least another 20 minutes. I think I was like, well, what kind of profession is this where you're just lying on the floor and breathing?
It's an exercise.
It's
a mental exercise.
It's just no.
It's not you're just laying there not thinking of anything. You're supposed to be.
I'm pretty sure those 5 people on the floor in that year were just thinking of nothing. They were like, I can't believe that this is what my parents are paying for me to do right now in the name of education.
Well, most of them would be. Anyway, let's get back to it. So, can I go on ahead now? Are you done with the messages through the vent, or was there more you wanted to say?
There is a part where they say, "Oh, we got the phone. Why don't we just call the police and call this whole thing off?" And then somewhere, outside, Malcolm McDowell has heard this, so he calls them, or they call him, whatever.
Well, as we found out from Keith, there's a camera, so.
And then Malcolm McDowell's like, "I think you should call off the police." And McLovin, I think, is like asking why, and he says, "Well, otherwise, very bad things will happen to you." That's the level of the writing. Otherwise, very bad things will happen to you. That really stuck in my mind. Malcolm McDowell produced this, so he's all agreed with this. Easy for him to remember. So he's either sitting down in his chair, or he's off screen just talking through a phone, probably sitting in a chair in a studio somewhere. And you got to the point where, the final. You mentioned that McLovin had gotten out.
Yeah, he's the final guy.
Yeah, he's the final guy. And when we are then reintroduced to Malcolm McDowell, because we've only seen him in the flashbacks before sitting in the boardroom, he's now in the new scene sitting in a chair again. So he got to do this whole movie just sitting in a chair, saying the same lines over and over again. He's an absolute genius. He's a genius. He must be
of retiree age, so I'm sure he quite enjoyed just sitting down for the whole thing, shuffling some papers.
Most people in movies are pretty sprightly no matter what their age, aren't they? So he just decided, I'm just going to sit in a chair for this whole entire movie. So kudos to him. Anyway, and then we're finally revealed to your stab in the back guy. I can't believe you've done this to him. Billy Zane is then revealed. He's like being kept in some side door, like a slide door opens on the wall, and out comes Billy Zane, and he's like, just kill me already." It's like a metaphor for his film career. It's like he can't believe that he's been reduced to this kind of stuff because Billy Zane's a pretty good actor, and he's just constantly in these kinds of movies.
Yeah, but as I was going to say, when you said I'd gone too far, was that the twist in this one was that obviously we've been told and led to believe this entire time that if you are the final living candidate, you get this job. But then Malcolm McDowell was like, well...
I don't like you.
You didn't actually kill anyone.
From his chair.
And the one death was an accident. I don't think you really have the backbone for this job.
Yeah.
So then he's like, you can just leave now. And obviously... the dude is not too pleased about this. He's just seen all these people die, gone through all this horrendous stuff, only to be told, "Oh, actually, go home and someone will be with you to clear it up," which I wasn't sure if that was an insinuation that he would be gotten rid of from this existence.
Malcolm McDowell asked him, "Are you a shark or just another meal?" That was very Entourage. Like he was talking to Ari.
Was it Billy then who comes out?
Billy Zane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Malcolm's like to McLovin dude.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Oh, shoot this man, and you can have your job."
And that's when Billy Zane's like, "Oh, just get it done already," because Billy Zane has clearly got the job this way previously, and he's had enough. He can't take it anymore. Much like
it seems
being in this movie in general.
The whole thing that's like insinuated throughout the whole thing is that everyone who works at this company has gone through this same process. So yeah, because like none of them have family, none of them have any life outside of work. They're all But this is the other
it's
thing.
It's good to know that I'm still learning new things about you. Like, we're going to get married, and I didn't think up until this point that, just the appearance of Billy Zane wouldn't elevate a movie from number 3 to number 2, even though they're pretty similar.
Now you've learned.
Oh, no.
And
maybe that's not the kind of girl I want to be with.
So, as I was saying, this is then the other weird thing. Can you stop pulling my hair?
I'll keep my hands to myself. I touched your
boob
boob last week, didn't I?
Excited, Johnny. Yeah, you're just chill. Okay?
It's all this Billy Zane talk.
It's just that everything's got you riled up today. I can't get a word in.
Clearly, I did find some enjoyment in these movies, then.
Yeah.
It's brought out, it's ignited a passion in me.
There's a lot of energy coming out at the moment.
Pew!
So now the final insult is that this whole time, as much of a kind of annoying fop this McLovin character is, the one shining example is that at least he is genuinely seemingly a good, decent human. So then at the end of this film, when they're like, oh, actually, no, he totally would kill, and then he does shoot Billy Zane in the head, it makes no sense. I was
that
like,
was
surely,
the end of the movie for me
if
there.
you have this kind of instinct, you would have used it earlier. Well, that is the end of the movie, so...
Unfortunately for me.
You just said that was the end of the movie for you. It was for everyone.
Fortunately for everyone, then, because there's no Zane.
Just pain.
No Watchy.
Yeah. So I think that pretty much wraps that one up, and I would say this was less enjoyable than The Task. The Task at least had funny moments. This was just lazy.
Oh, and The Task wasn't lazy.
It had more to it than this.
The Task characters were way, way more lazy than the characters and their dialogue in The Employer. If you take away Malcolm McDowell, who just repeats himself constantly through it. You've got shit damn guy in The Task.
Which is hilarious because it's so stupid. Well, I think surely we can both agree that neither of them are
a guy
good.
lying in poop. That's normally something that you would,
mark it up for.
Actually, I guess you did mark it up, yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
So without further
Poo
ado,
points.
It's got the poo points. So yeah, should we move on to the final film of the review, which is the anthology? Was it 7 stories?
7 stories,
And
very short stories.
This clocks
very
in.
frightening tales.
I think it said 52 minutes.
I thought it said 57, but whatever.
So it's in the 50s, and yet somehow it felt like it went on for a really long time for me.
No, it was over really quickly for me. Especially considering how short each of the 7 stories were.
But then it was weird because the first one is probably one of the longest. And
the first one I think
so
was the longest.
set me up to think, how are they going to get through everything?
And that was my favourite one.
Interesting, I was literally about to say which was your favourite and which was your least favourite.
Yeah, I've got them all written down in case you don't remember. So the first one
say
was
your favourite first.
Curse of Stonehill, episode 1. Yeah, where the girl goes to the haunted house unbeknownst to her. That was the best one. And my least favourite one, oh man, probably either Brave or Dance with Death. Brave was the last one, the human trafficking one. And Dance with Death was the guy who just either seemingly wanted to get peace in the big city or was having a reoccurring nightmare. And the blue hand comes and gets him.
Yeah, I think...
Not because I didn't like it, just because it was
my
a bit...
favourite was probably the...
one I said, right?
No.
Oh, what?
No. I didn't like that one.
You didn't like the first one?
No.
It was the best one. It was more abstract.
Was it, though?
Compared to the rest of them, yeah. If you say a certain one called Slice, which you won't know by the name what episode of the movie this is, I will love it.
Mine, it was the Filipino doll story.
That's episode 2, Delivery.
Yeah. And
which is much like The Gift, the movie The Gift. You know that one?
Yeah, we've seen it.
Yeah. Where Jason Bateman has left a gift on his front porch, and then his life all goes to pot.
And my least favourite was that what was it called? Like Appetite or...
I thought it was the one that I picked, Stonehill. Appetite. So we've got...
No, it was the one with Roberts, Eric Roberts.
Eric Roberts, Dinner Rush with Eric
Dinner
Roberts.
Rush. Ugh. I didn't like that one.
No, the guy opposite Eric Roberts is his hitman.
So, okay, we've said our favourites, our least favourites, and you've kind of briefly summed up a tiny bit about each of them. Do you want to then go into... Why don't you say first?
I feel like I'm being directed now.
Yeah. I have to direct your energy. So why don't you go into what you liked about the first one?
I liked it mostly after she wakes up from her nightmare and she's in the darkened house and the lightning's going off, and she gets the phone call telling her that she's in a haunted house now, and then the ghost comes out. That was the big winner for me.
So you like the end?
Because this was the only one that kind of, it was allowed to have, even though it's only, say, 7 minutes long, a build-up. And even though it's kind of like no middle, it's just introduction, sleep, wake up, end. The rest of them didn't have even enough time to kind of do that for the most part. And I just liked, I really liked the cinematography and lighting at the end when she wakes up in the house. I thought it looked really cool.
Okay, so I'll give you, I thought some of this looked really nice and all of that, but also we should mention that...
clearly a very just low budget, less than an hour, just horror anthology of just, tales that are just not really here nor there and don't get the time. So you've got, I kind of like graded it on a less level than like a real movie because you kind of know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as I was saying...
So I thought it was pretty good.
Oh my god! I'm literally going to kick you off the set in a minute. It's going to go back to just me.
The people will revolt. Yeah.
So yeah, I thought some of the cinematography and this and that was quite nice, but the actress in this...
Who plays Lauren.
She's in a couple of the shorts, and I just...
Shows up in the Eric Roberts one.
This was definitely not my favourite performance of hers. I found her quite annoying. And so this character, she's gone to this old... estate house because she's possibly a descendant of the family that owned it, and there's like a caretaker or something there to welcome her, and she eventually falls asleep, as you said, and things go south. But whilst she's in this place alone waiting for her meeting with someone, she like looks around and she finds this closet which has nothing else in it, just hung up and laid out precisely a full ballerina costume with shoes and a tiara. And she proceeds to just be like, oh yeah, let me just grab that and try it on. And then when she hears a noise like someone's coming back in, she doesn't even have the courtesy to put it back how she found it. She just chucks it all in the bottom of the closet. And I was like, I just don't like her.
So this is another case of a character in a movie walking into... a premises of which they don't own or don't belong, and just messing around with all the contents of the house.
So thoughtless.
It's an easy way for you. This happened recently in House of Wax and
American Gothic,
and now this,
Yeah, it happens a lot in horror movies, and it makes me just lose
riles you up.
Faith.
I see.
The other thing I thought was strange, because you said that like it all kind of kicks off after she's fallen asleep, and now the insinuation I got was that the drink that the caretaker had served her was like possibly laced,
it was,
and that put her to sleep. But then we find out on this phone call, when we find out the place is haunted, there is no caretaker. He died however long ago. So he died at the property. So it's all so what are you telling me, that this ghost that she was seeing prepared her a physical drink?
You don't believe that a ghost could lace a drink or tamper with
where would he even get that from? Does he just go down to like
we don't
a
know where
drugstore?
he's come from. He's a ghost. Who knows what kind of things he can get his hands on.
Lost me. And it also, I feel like they could have at least said why.
He might be a pharmacist in the afterlife, and it's easier for him to get hold of things that will knock out characters through drink.
A pharmacist ghost.
Pharmacist ghost, exactly.
And I also think that with all this backstory they gave of why she was there and all of this, they could have then said why this
She's a member
ghost
of the Vogel
was
family.
Actually killing everyone. Like, who was that woman supposed to be?
Well, you've only got 7 minutes of which to get everything in, so...
I still think it could have been put in there.
What about the reveal of the portrait?
Oh, that was literally the next thing I was going to say. So in this, when she's first being shown around by the alleged ghost, we see a picture of potentially her mother, and it's only half finished apparently. But honestly, my sister, with zero training, could do a better drawing than that. It was so bad. And then the one that it's then replaced with one of our main girl after she's been gotten by the ghost, and that's just as bad.
When she's being a ballerina.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
hello,
that pretty much settles that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and number 2 was your favourite then, the delivery, where she gets delivery of a weird little doll.
Yeah, I thought this one was good atmosphere, short and sweet. So she gets this
very short
doll in a package that's come from the Philippines, so she thinks it might be from a family. She calls her, and her mum confirms, like, no, and hang on, this doll sounds like something that's got an evil spirit trapped inside, and if you touch it, the spirit's released. And then we see through the baby monitor
she's got a baby
that
in the house.
there's a chair rocking with no one in it. And on the phone, the mum's warning her, like, be careful of the baby. And we see her rush in, get the baby, and tell her mum, oh, everything's fine. And she hangs up on her mum, despite her mum saying she shouldn't.
I think at this point she's already possessed, because then the next thing we see is her eyes, looking a bit doolally.
Yeah, so that's kind of how it ends. We
and
see
the doll's
that she's
on the
created
mantle.
like a shrine for the doll, and
she's repeating something,
possessed.
isn't she? Something really obvious, which I've forgotten.
I'm not sure, but yeah, I thought...
You'll be like, I'm possessed.
It
Something
wasn't
to
that.
that nature. Yeah. But that's how simple it is, though.
But yeah, I thought... I liked what this one did. I thought it was...
Yeah, again, no build up.
Everything
Got
it
the delivery,
needed.
got the phone call, I'm already possessed. The end. And now we move on to your least favourite.
I hated this
the
one.
Eric Roberts starring Dinner Rush, where Eric Roberts is the head of a blood-drinking family, and he's waiting at a table. But it's more... I don't know how successful his crime family is, because it looks like to me he's just sitting in like a canteen, like a school canteen or something. It's not impressive. Anyway, he's sitting there drinking his blood, and then one of his hitmen walks in, and he's been telling him about his day, and he's like, oh yeah, my victim begged when I peeled him like a banana.
It was delivered with no, like, intimidation or anything. It was...
Eric Roberts
terrible.
isn't really impressed by this, but what's great about Eric Roberts is he is known for learning his lines and then getting on set and just delivering the lines. That was a masterclass he gave in this. He's learned his lines, he said his lines, he's off now because he's got about 100 movies a month to do, so he can't be bothered. He ain't got the time to like think about character depth and what decisions we make in this situation and yada yada yada. He's just got to go in, read the script, say the lines and get out again. Because he's got to drive to Encino or whatever to get to his next booking. He's got 10 a day, so that's the kind of performance that we get from Eric Roberts. And
he did that sipping.
He
thing
deserves
at the
so
beginning
much more. Oh yeah, that was classic Eric Roberts. He's just being himself at this point. He's probably like, hey,
so dumb.
We've seen a lot of Eric Roberts in these kind of movies recently, have we? Because like I say, he's got to take the jobs. Apparently, he's putting himself into some kind of his lifestyle. He's got to keep working no matter what the material, and he's not been able to come back like Mickey Rourke, and now he's reduced to this.
But for whatever reason, he decides.
He did learn his lines though.
This childhood friend of his, who is now a hitman for this family, just it's time for him to die.
Time to die. Yeah,
and
the effects are pretty good on the death.
Yeah, but then also I didn't understand the point of so this hitman he turns to the waitress who's the actress from the first story. And I thought this was better, even though she doesn't have much to do.
So you like the
suited her better.
Oh, we just thought her performance was better because I thought this was your least favourite one.
Well, it is the story. Yeah. So he goes to her. He's like, "What about you? You're human like me. You're not like them.
Mm-hmm.
Won't you help me?" Obviously, I mean, even if she wanted to, what is she supposed to do in that situation with like six blood drinkers?
Maybe she's just sadistic. That's why she's taking the job.
But anyway, she's there and it doesn't do anything, and they do kill him. And then it's like...
You can tell she's the kind of girl that would work for like Vampire Family because she's dressed like a goth.
Yeah, she's got dark lipstick and stuff.
Yeah.
And then Eric Roberts asks her like, oh, so what did you think of that? She's like, oh, I loved the rush or something like that. And the whole thing, like you said, the setting was like...
And is that when Eric Roberts takes a final sip of his... Eric Roberts, everybody. Bringing the goods. Next one. That one obviously only lasts, probably about 5 minutes maximum.
Yeah, thankfully it's
now,
short.
we move on to the one which I thought was going to be your favourite because it stars Vin Diesel's body double as an Uber driver.
Oh, Slice of Life.
I've just written Slice, but
that's why I didn't recognise it. Slice of Life is what it was called.
Yeah. And so you've got Vin Diesel as an Uber driver, and he's driving a guy to an audition.
A cowboy.
Well, yeah, he's an actor from Texas, and we know this because he's dressed as a cowboy. He's got the cowboy hat on.
Oh, he's
got
just
the
getting into
shirt.
acting as well. Like he hasn't, he's not been around the block.
So you've got a cowboy and fake Vin Diesel, and Vin Diesel says like, "Hey, what are you doing at your now that we've dropped you off?" And he says, "Oh, I'm going in for an acting audition." And he's like, "I used to be like you." I was like, "There's no point in time in Vin Diesel's life that he's ever been like this cowboy guy. He's nothing like him. You remind me of me." One's dressed as a cowboy and one's Vin Diesel. How can he remind him of himself?
At least Vinny's still driving a car, sticking with his roles in the past.
Then that's a good point actually. Yeah, but then the action is less high octane and more where can I drop you, but still it's driving.
So this guy's got an audition and it's
Vin
in the
Diesel
middle of
tries
nowhere.
to warm him off.
Let me say why though. It's in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night, and it just looks dodgy. So yeah, Vin Diesel, being the guy who's been around the block and now given up, tries to warn the bright new to the world cowboy like this isn't right, like don't do it. But eventually Cowboy goes in anyway.
Yeah.
And
there's a director.
There's a director. There's one other person auditioning apparently.
That's how you act as a director.
The girl from we've mentioned twice.
Yep, she's back. Lauren from Stonehill and waitress from Eric Roberts' Blood Diner.
And so he eventually gets into the audition room, doesn't he?
She's an actress
and
as well.
She's in like the chair playing a hostage sort of role. And there's the director and I guess the director's assistant who's on the stage, and then you've got Stetson hat guy. By which point I should mention Vin Diesel has left his car and come looking for Stetson guy because he just senses that something is wrong.
He's not come into the room yet, though.
No. He's already talked to him in the waiting area. Now this one could have been one of my least favourites, honestly, and I still don't understand. So can you explain to me? So the actress is supposed to be the victim, and the director's assistant, seemingly stabs her in the side of her head with a screwdriver,
and no blood comes out.
And then it turns out it's a fakey one.
Yeah. And
they tell Stetson guy, right, for your audition you need to do basically something like that to her.
Go on, you've got it in you, says the director, and he gives him something like a screwdriver.
By the way, he doesn't even test it.
Yeah, he's like, make me believe it. So then Cowboy goes up to the girl with a screwdriver, gets her, and she falls off the chair, and the director's ecstatic. But again, I don't know if it's just something to do with the budget or something, or just a mistake, or if it's actually supposed to be there, but there was no blood came out of her neck or her wounds when he stabs her either, much like when the assistant stabs her.
We kind of been throwing back and forth as to whether, we know this is a horror story, so we are led to believe that maybe she has actually been killed, but then we've also been shown, oh no, this looked like she was being killed, but she wasn't. And then eventually Vin Diesel comes in to rescue Stetson guy.
Yeah, he's like, come on, let's go.
And he does get him out. And this is the thing, we then get a shot of the dumpster.
But the director tries to tempt Vin Diesel with one more shot of fame. He's like, I could use you. You have a brilliant look. But Vin Diesel knows better. He's happy just driving that Uber now.
Yeah. And so as the two guys walk past this dumpster to get into the car and escape, we see the body, which does have blood on it now.
Yeah.
Of the girl that Stetson guy stabbed.
Yeah.
So
the
then
actress.
We're like, oh, okay, so it was real. But then she looks at the camera and winks. I'm like, wait, what is going on here?
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense.
What is happening?
No sense, but not long, just before they walk off from the bin, Stetson guy walks ahead, just leaves Vin Diesel in frame, and he says, welcome to Hollywood. So that was a really cool bit, I thought.
Yeah, there were a lot of mentions of things like
welcome
that.
to Hollywood.
Again, when Stetson guy's talking to the girl in the waiting area, and he's like, oh, so, what do I expect? And she basically says something along the lines of, hey, this is LA, expect
anything
the unexpected.
Goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was that really. So we've got, is she dead? Has she been?
It was dumb.
What the hell? It was pretty dumb.
It was dumb.
It was dumb, but I did think that the Vin Diesel cowboy combo was going to win you over.
That guy could have been Vin Diesel in one of those scary movie type.
Super fast.
Yeah, definitely.
It wasn't quite as big as Vin Diesel though.
Anyway, what was the next one?
It's a smaller-headed version. A Dance with Death, which is that guy who seemingly comes in from work and he puts his earphones in.
This one I found quite forgettable.
And it shows the busy city. It didn't, again, this might have
no
been the shortest
dialogue,
one.
right?
No dialogue. No, you
dialogue.
just hear the noise of the city. And I believe he's falling asleep or something like this, or he's knocked out, or
I thought the insinuation
something.
Again, it
Either
wasn't
way.
very clear and nothing really made full sense, but I thought the insinuation was kind of like a look on suicide, because we
Right.
see a lot of these like image flashes of him climbing up onto like the railing of a bridge and then falling. Right at the end he falls into the water, and I thought maybe this blue hand that they have coming up when he's got his earphones in was like death or him at the bottom of the water or something.
I've got a Nightmare on Elm Street kind of thing where I thought he was, passed out, sleep dreaming. He kept having this recurring nightmare where, let's say, he's standing on the edge of the bridge, and he eventually, the monster from the water, which he's going to be jumping into, infiltrates his real life, puts his hand up, and then takes him. And that's why I took it. At first, I thought he was just trying to get some sleep in the busy city, but after watching it a second time, I got the recurring nightmare thing.
Yeah, I mean, I could believe that's what it was. I could believe my one, and there are other theories that you could.
What
go
about
with.
the blue hand though? It looked like an inflatable blue.
It was worse
kid's
than
toy.
what we did. But I guess it's kind of a positive in itself that you can have so many different thoughts about what it was, what it
It's
meant.
open to interpretation.
Very artsy in that way.
Yeah. So then after he's taken by the blue hand monster, we get the 6th installment, which is called Fortune. And it's when the two girls go to the fortune teller, played by Sally Struthers.
This one was kind of
who I only know from being mocked in South Park.
entertaining in its own way, in its like kind of silliness as well. And yeah, so the first thing that I found strange is these two women who are friends.
Mm-hmm.
They've gone to a fortune teller who's somewhat well known to at least one of them, because she's like, oh, I'm such a big fan, right?
It's like she's living in a one-bedroom bed
this
sit or something.
fortune teller is literally lying in her bed when they come to see her. I was like, that's a bit lazy, isn't it? What, can't you at least get out of bed to pay
Maybe she
customers?
exec produced this, much like Malcolm McDowell, and
So
just
I ain't getting out of
said,
bed.
if I'm going to do these scenes, I'm going to be laying in bed.
I mean, I for one would feel really awkward going into someone's house whilst they're lying in bed and being like, yo, read my cards.
Unless they're sick or something, yeah.
So yeah, and she reads, I would say they're tarot cards, but they're definitely not tarot cards because they're completely made up for this story.
Do you like the simplicity of the cards?
It was like, what's the point of having this woman to read the meaning of the cards when it literally says right there on the card what it is?
What really was the reading? Was there anything to do with the story, what Sally Struthers was saying?
Yeah, all of it was.
Right, okay.
So the first, she gets a card basically that says that someone of the two of them has a terrible secret.
Yeah.
And by the close of the night, they need to confess this secret,
Mm-hmm.
or this
They're going to be taken
demon
by a demon
monster thing is going to
Mm-hmm.
come and get them. And by the way, the friend who brought the other girl with her,
Yeah.
her mother had recently passed away, and it was in a carjacking apparently, and she doesn't know where the car or the body is, right?
It was a carjacking. I just thought she was boiling in the back of a car.
This is what I'm trying to say. So this is what that girl thought had happened to her mum.
Right.
Turns out the friend she'd brought along is a massive alcoholic, which you could obviously tell from that actress, couldn't you?
Yeah,
With her poncho.
And she's yeah, just drinking in my poncho.
Yeah, so apparently she's an alcoholic and had been entrusted with her friend's mother, who had dementia or something along those lines, and she'd actually not been carjacked. She had in fact left the mother in the back of the car, who had then boiled to death in the heat and couldn't get out because she was weak.
And then
she'd lied to her friend about what happened.
Has she been trying to bang her head against the window? Is that why there was a blood spot there, or did her head just explode from the heat?
That was just... I mean, they're also saying she was blistering. I don't know much about
because Sally
the
Struthers
process,
is
but
she's blistering.
Yeah.
She's in the back of her car.
I don't think that's how it works, but I could be wrong.
As in, the psychic nature of things.
Do you blister that quickly when you're in a hot.
I'm not sure you'd blister at that. I don't know how hot. I don't know if they're in hell. Maybe you could blister
on
then.
Fire. Maybe I'd get it. But anyway, so we then think that this is the secret that was meant to come out, and so the original girl who's
the friend got rid of the body as well.
Well, exactly, and blamed it on a carjacking. Yeah.
She was like, "You knew I was an alcoholic."
That was so stupid. So then the girl is like, "Right, the demon is here. I can hear it. It's welcome to her because she let my mother die."
Mm-hmm.
And then the demon, like with its massively long tongue, just like shoots through her neck or something and kills her. And it turns out,
or does it, because she goes to her knees after this thing has got her in it, and she's still talking. She's like, "What just happened?"
Yeah.
Whatever she says.
Apparently, vocal cords aren't.
Yeah, giant hole in your throat, but
speak.
it doesn't affect speech. No.
And it turns out that the fortune teller lady's like, "You knew what you were doing when you left your mom with your drunk friend. You wanted her to die
because you wanted your inheritance."
Yeah, and
so she's purposely giving her to the drunkard.
So the demon is after her, and then the demon's after the other one, and now this fortune teller is in her bed with 2 dead bodies in the room, and that's how we end it.
Well, demon gets them both, and I thought the demon was shot in a strange way, almost like some kind of apparition in a photo, but live action. But I've seen it kind of the kind of design before, but I quite liked it. Quite liked all of the ghost things in this. Remember at the beginning, before the movie starts, and you've got fake Vin Diesel.
Oh my God,
he's settling down to this feature movie.
And they show like a trailer.
Yeah, they show a fake trailer, and then this fairground Hellraiser type monster comes through the couch, splits it apart,
and he sits
there with some popcorn, and then Vin Diesel and his girlfriend get up from behind the sofa as well. So just from that opening, you kind of got the drift of what this was going to be like, and that's why I took a deep breath after that. I was like, okay, so it's just going to be not taking itself too seriously. And the only problem with it, if you want to call it that, is just there wasn't... Some of the stories could have been, like, really good, even better. We've got one more to go. But it could have been a little bit better if you just had, like, a bit more time and have the movie last, an hour and 10 minutes. Just add on a little bit more, and you could have fleshed them out a little bit better.
Yeah, I think as well it's a strange thing with an anthology like this to go through... Like, I think most of them were written by the same guy.
Yeah, I think they're all directed by the same guy.
There were
a
couple of different names, but in general it was kind of like a
one-man
creative
show.
Background, but there was still, it felt like they had very different like auras or vibes. Like some were way more serious than others, and when you put that together it can sometimes be like do a disservice to both, because you can neither take the serious ones as seriously or be as ready to accept the silly ones.
Whether it was more serious, more comedic, the same kind of tone was kept no matter what, and that's what you get with the same director then.
Well,
you directed them all.
But I'm just saying, like, mixing the different tones in one anthology is not the way I would necessarily go, because it's...
So you either want just a comedic anthology or a straight hardcore anthology, yeah?
Yeah.
It's not really the way horror anthologies really go.
I think that's how it should be.
So I'm advocating for less comedy stuff, so let's just...
stick with straight horror.
All serious, yeah.
Yeah, that would have been fine.
All serious.
With me. But there is no comedy in the last one.
No, finally, and I guess it's a different take. It's a different kind of horror. You run the gamut of it, really, didn't you?
Yeah, we have lots of supernatural stuff.
Yeah,
and
vampire
this one
clan.
Is just completely like
real life horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a family who are being driven. It seems like through the desert or something like this.
Yeah, they're trying to cross the border into
they're being
US.
trafficked, so they think. But is it just a guy and a dad and mum and the son,
boy,
and the son doesn't trust the driver who's taking him there, and he shouldn't, because as soon as they're stopped, his dad tells him everything will be all right. And he says something like, "Oh, a man always keeps his word to his son, doesn't he?"
The kid is like, "Why don't we just run now? Like, he'll never find us. I don't trust him." And the dad says, "No, because we made our, word with this guy, and a man always keeps his word no matter what."
Yeah.
And one by one, the guy is like, "We need to process you, so come out." And the last one out is the little boy.
But he takes the dad first, and he's sat in the chair, and the driver gets behind a camera, which is set up, and he says, I think it says, "Say your name and the date." And he says it, and then he's...
And do you have any illnesses?
Then he's suffocated, smothered with a plastic bag to his death, and then the mum's offed. I think that's off screen, possibly.
And we see an image of, like, a makeshift in a van, like, surgery
fridge
setup,
van.
Where there's another guy who is then harvesting the organs of the people that are being killed. And yeah, so we get the little boy finally in the chair, and the guy who's filming, the driver.
It's hardly finally. It's last about 3 minutes.
Yeah, but of all, like 3 people have already been killed.
It's all action.
Yeah, so the driver is there filming, and he looks at the little boy, and he obviously feels some kind of compassion at this point, and he tells the boy to run, run away, leave before the other guy can come and suffocate you, basically. And the little boy is just like, no, because I'm a man, and a man always keeps his word, right? And then, yeah, that's his death sentence, essentially. And it ends. So
has his dad done him a disservice?
Yeah, well, I think this one is...
Don't listen to your parents.
It's not like my favourite one because it wasn't as entertaining. This one is definitely a comment on life and real happenings, which I always find interesting to think about, and thinking like what exactly they're saying. Because on the one hand you think, well, yeah, bravery is obviously a great trait to have, but in this case it was shown to be quite
foolish,
negative. Yeah, so
should have just got up and run when you had the chance. Live a life as an orphan. Make it on your own.
So it's a... it's a
or on the other hand, it's respect your parents.
Even if
see it through, even to your death, even though you're only 11 years old.
Or maybe kids have the best instincts. Or...
He's probably going to get a high price on the open organ market as well because he's a youngster, and he's going to have no diseases, is he? So at least his innards are going to some kind of good use, I suppose. No, because those gangsters, those traffickers, they need to eat, and they're not going to eat unless they get organs to sell. So full circle, really. So it's quite a happy ending. Happy ending.
But anyway, yeah, that wraps up the anthology.
I think we're saying the same thing.
And I think the anthology is the only one that I would say, yeah, that's worth having on at some point.
Yeah, it's brainless entertainment, and you barely have to think at all because there's no even middle to the stories. It's just let's just get into this.
Yeah, if you've got like concentration of a TikToker, then this might be your thing because it is quick, and they are all different.
To the point.
Yeah, not bad. Not great. Not bad.
And it's your number one, even though there's no Billy Zane in it. For once, Billy Zane's been relegated to last place. I'm sure we'll see him again.
Well, it wasn't Billy Zane I relegated, it was the movie, but...
I can't wait to see where you rank him this time.